July of 1518, a woman stepped into the street in Strasbourg and started to dance. She didn't stop. Not that hour, not that day, not for 6 days straight, until her feet were bleeding through her shoes. Within a week, 400 people had joined her. Some danced until their hearts gave out, and the city's own doctors made a decision so insane it turned a strange illness into a massacre. This is the true story history tried to forget. Welcome back to HistoryNova, where the past is stranger than fiction. Let's dive in. Strasbourg, 1518. The Holy Roman Empire. It's a rough year. Famine has gripped the region. Smallpox and syphilis are spreading, and people are desperate, superstitious, and exhausted. Into this pressure cooker walks a woman named Frau Trophäa. On a quiet July afternoon, she walks into the street outside her house and begins to dance. No music, no celebration, just her body, moving, twisting, stomping, and a face that shows no joy at all. Neighbors watch, confused, then concerned. She doesn't stop for food. She doesn't stop for water. Hours pass, then a full day. Frau Trophäa dances through the night, her legs trembling, her feet swelling inside her shoes. By day 4, blood is seeping through the leather. Still, she doesn't stop. Physicians of the era had a word for what they were witnessing, but no explanation. This wasn't a seizure. This wasn't drunkenness. It looked chillingly like her body simply would not obey her anymore. Within a week, something worse happens. Others start dancing too. Not one or two. By the end of the first month, over 30 people are seized by the same compulsion, dancing uncontrollably in the streets of Strasbourg. Then more, and more. Historical records, city ledgers, physician accounts, cathedral clergy notes, all agree on one horrifying detail. At the peak, close to 400 people were dancing simultaneously, with no ability to stop. This wasn't graceful. Eyewitnesses described dancers with vacant, glassy stares, mouths foaming, bodies contorting past the point of exhaustion. People collapsed mid-step, only to rise minutes later and continue. Reports describe several dancers suffering strokes and heart attacks on the spot, dying mid-dance in front of horrified crowds. Desperate, the city council turned to their physicians, and the doctors reached a conclusion that still stuns historians today. They decided the dancers had overheated blood and that the only cure was to let them dance it out. So the city did something almost unthinkable. Instead of stopping the dancing, Strasbourg's leaders encouraged it. They cleared out a guild hall. They built a wooden stage in the grain market. They hired musicians, drummers, pipers, and even paid strongmen to physically hold up dancers who could no longer stand, just so they could keep moving. The city, in essence, threw a forced marathon of death, believing it was medicine. The dancing didn't slow down, it exploded. With music now driving the frenzy, more residents were pulled into the compulsion. Reports from the period claim that at the epidemic's height, as many as 15 people a day were dying from heart attacks, strokes, and sheer exhaustion, collapsing on a stage the city itself had built for them. Only when the death toll became undeniable did authorities reverse course. Musicians were banned. Public dancing was outlawed. The afflicted were carried, many still twitching, still trying to move, to a shrine dedicated to Saint Whydah, patron saint said to control such dancing curses. There, in a chapel lit by candlelight, victims were given red shoes blessed with holy water and forced to dance one final time before collapsing into stillness. Then, as strangely as it began, it stopped. By September, the epidemic had faded. To this day, no one agrees on what actually happened. One theory blames ergot, a toxic mold on damp rye bread that causes hallucinations and spasms. Another points to mass psychogenic illness, stress-induced hysteria spreading person to person in a starving, terrified population. Neither theory fully explains the scale or why it happened here, at this exact moment in history. What we do know is this: it wasn't the first dancing plague in Europe. Smaller outbreaks were recorded for centuries before it. And it wasn't the last, which means somewhere, buried in city archives across Europe, there may be more stories just like this one, waiting to be found. If history is stranger than anything Hollywood could write, that's exactly why HistoryNova exists. Subscribe, because the next story might be even harder to believe. See you in the next one.